Alrighty. So what do we want to do with this session? What is our objective? I want to make sure that you know what the student dashboard is and what your students can do in the student dashboard. I'll also show you some new question types and what they look like to your student. And then the other thing we will do is look at feedback and how your students can send you feedback and how it appears to them when you send feedback to them. All right, so this is what we want to do today. Let's dive in. First, I'm going to take you to this window because this window shows me a sample student dashboard. All right, so this is a fake student account that we often use, but this is what a student dashboard looks like. So if your student logs into Formative, here's where they come. And as you can see here, the formative word is underlined. So this is where they see their formatives. You can see all their formatives along the left here. You can see up here that there are a few options. You can view formatives down, and you can also, the student can also flip to the standards tab here to see how they've done in each standard. And if I just expand this a little, you will see standards listed here and how they've done on each standard, which is a great way for students to self-monitor, right? Let me see how well I've done on these standards and what I can do to improve and what I should focus on. So here's back to the formatives tab here. I want to show you that we can search for formatives here. So your students can search for formatives with their titles. They can also filter the way they see the formatives by class. So if they, for example, choose, oh, I only want Vena's classes, then here are just the formatives with this particular class. Another thing they can sort by is by either title or last updated or last assigned. So again, these are ways that they can sort of filter out what they see on their dashboard. Okay, so let's see what these buttons are here on the right. So you can see that every formative will have either an open button or a submitted button or a closed button, right? So let's see what these mean. All right, now let me see, what should I show you first? I am first going to show you the open demo formative here. You see this demo formative? This is an open formative. What does that mean if it's open? It basically means that they can access that formative when they click on this button. So here they've clicked on the open button and they can immediately start answering the formative. And when they're done, they will hit submit, right? So this is where they can access the formative and complete it and submit. So that's what you do with the open button. Now, supposing I'm going to show you something that's already been submitted. Now, let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to show you Garden City. Right, here it is. Garden City Demo Accommodations is a sample formative. And I'm going to click on the submitted button. So this means that the student's already taken the formative and submitted it, right? So if the student goes back and clicks on submit, they can see the formative. They can also see this little red pop-up that says this assignment has been submitted but is no longer editable. And why that is the case is because, and I'm going to show you this this way. I'm going to tile this over. Oops. Give me a second while I tile this over to the left and tile this over to the right so that you can see what this looks like. So in your assign settings, when you, as a teacher, assign the formative, you may remember that there are these settings that you can adjust, right? And remember, if you have any doubts, just type it in the chat. So in these settings, which are your assign settings, you determine as the teacher what your students can do after submitting the formative. So you see here after submission, if you say keep visible and no edits allowed, then this is what happens. You get this little red pop-up. The student gets this little red pop-up if they try to access the formative after they've submitted it, because they can't edit it. They can't change any answers, right? So this is a great setting to use if you want to just test your students' knowledge of a concept, maybe like a pre-test or a post-test. You don't want them to change any answers. You just want a snapshot of what their understanding is, right? Now, supposing I show you this one. Okay. Now, in this case, this is a math grade 6 pre-test, which I've asked my class to do. It's a pretend one. Say the student goes ahead and clicks on it, and they find this little note. This formative is hidden after submission. This, again, is based on the setting that I, as a teacher, have set here. After submission, instead of keep visible, if I had said make hidden, then to the student, this is what they would see. This formative is hidden after submission. They can't even see it. And that may be a preferred setting for you in certain cases. So let's see. Supposing I sort my formative student dashboard by this particular class. It's my number 2 Google test class. Okay. And supposing here, I want to show you this sort of a button where it says submitted, but it also says the scores. You see? So what this means is basically the scores are returned to the students upon submission. So here again, if you look at the left-hand side of the screen, you can see your return scores setting. It can be don't show scores, it can be show scores instantly. You can change it according to what you want. So in this case, if I click here, the student can not only see different colors here, but they can also see the correct answers here. So this means the settings allowed correct answers to be returned to the students immediately. So for example, when a student answers, then they promptly see the colors. And I'll show you the color sort of changes based on what they answer because you've allowed that to happen. And in some cases, like I said, if I allow answers to be returned, if I say keep this and allow answers to be returned immediately to students or upon submission, like see here, after student submits, then after the student submits, they can come back and see the correct answers right here. So this is, examples of what it looks like in different settings, depending on your assigned settings. Let me go back into that same list and show you this. So in this particular formative, this is an open formative. I want to show you multiple submissions allowed. And what that means is that my setting allows my students to go back and edit their responses. So if I want my students to learn from their mistakes, so I want them to go back and, based on what feedback I've given them, go back and change their answers, figure out what they've done wrong, then this is a great way to do that. So you can see here, as I was saying before, if I type because, and this is a fake question, but if say I type the right answer, it turns green, right? If here I've clicked the answer A, but the answer is B, and I click on B, it turns green. So this is in case I want instant knowledge of whether the answer is right or wrong. And the other thing that I was talking about was returning to the formative to change my answer and say, because this is blah, blah, I can change the answer. And that's how I can learn from my mistakes and keep growing, right? So these are just a few of the different settings that this is how your assigned settings affect what your students can do in their formatives. So again, I'm just going to take this out here. So again, this is your dashboard. And the things they can do here is based on what assigned settings you have set. Remember, if it's closed, then you've already closed the assignment. Some are submitted and you have the scores because you've allowed that to happen. So how about we take a formative now, all right? So I have a formative here. I've pre-made it. And I want you to actually experience taking this formative with some different question types that I've put in. These are newer question types that you may have seen on our product updates. So we're going to spend a little time taking this formative. You're going to take it as a student. I will share that join code information in a second. I have assigned it and I am going to now share with you. So if you could go ahead and either log into your formative account, or I can give you this. There's the join code. Oh, thanks, Lily's a step ahead of me. It's app.formative.com/join. And the code, the join code to access this formative is in the chat as well and on the screen as well. So if you could go ahead and join this formative and start actually taking it, I will be on the view response screen watching answers come up, and I'll hide the names. So as you can see, as my students are responding, I immediately get this feedback on what's going on, how you're doing. Once you finish question 3, though, I have a little instruction box there telling you how you can send feedback as a student to the teacher. Could one of you or 3 of you or all of you go ahead and try that? Click on that little comment box near the, just under the question, click on any one of them and just send me some feedback. There you go. So look at this. I see this little, and you can see this on my screen, I think. I can see this little comment box. So if I click on that, and everything's hidden, don't worry, I immediately see, is it okay? I can see this. Do you see? So this is like the neatest thing. I love this, because then immediately I can, if my screen lets me, thank you very much, I can type back, yes. Now I'm going to show you, I'm going to send some batch feedback so you all know what it looks like. But notice that I get these little alerts that, oh, someone sent me feedback. There you go. And I can send feedback directly. So imagine how powerful this is with your students. It's incredible. It's so exciting to see that students have this direct connection. They can immediately say, oh, you know what? I really don't get this. And don't forget, you have the power of this blue plus sign as a teacher and as a student. So you can totally send, oh, I know a video that can help you with this concept. I'm going to upload it. Or this is what I mean. Or let me explain. Sometimes a student can't type it. They want to explain it. They can explain by recording the audio and saying, hey, this is what I'm really trying to understand. I don't get this. And go ahead and add the audio and send it that way. And remember, you can delay feedback if you'd like. And if not, then that's fine. Isn't this neat? I totally love this. I get so excited when this happens. So I was going to refresh this one more time, make sure I'm up to date. That's great. I'm just going to show you quickly the power also of batch feedback. So supposing I'm in question 1 here, okay? Should we do question? Yeah, let's do question 1. Okay, I can click on, yeah, I agree, all these 3. And I can send feedback to all of them at once. Look at the amount of time you can save. I've just sent feedback to all of them at once. So again, powerful time-saving tool here, right? Oh, this is the best. So you see how these have show your work, right? So I can even draw feedback. Remember, here's this, I've opened this up. I can even, and I can't see this because I'm I've already, so she and I have already been chatting, and this is behind my screen, so sorry about that. But I can even draw feedback here. Let me show you. Can I do it on here? There it is. So I can say, oh, let me show you what I mean. What I mean is this. And then I can do it this way. And then I can say, scribble, and say, yes, you got it right. It is powerful especially when, oh, yes, I never sent it. That's what it's trying to tell me. Anyway, so these are all the things you can do. Yay. I know, it's so exciting. And it's so lovely that you as teachers take the time and effort, and administrators, everyone really with education, to try and take the effort to come into these webinars because they're for you. So again, type any questions in the chat. And in the meantime, again, I'm going to go back to that dashboard. Tell me, do you have any questions about the dashboard? Again, remember that the student has the ability to see all their formatives as well as, and access them, right? Through the open, or if they're submitted and if it's not possible to see it, then they can't do anything. That depends on you and your settings. If they feel like, oh, I want to go back and check what I've written for these things, then they can, but some of them are not editable, again, based on your settings, right? And then sometimes I want to show you that example again. If you allow multiple submissions, then it's really powerful because then they can go back in and change their answer based on what they learned. And they can go into standards and against standards, check how they've done and decide what they need to work on. So this is the student dashboard. Does anyone have any questions at all? So again, here, remember that you can always see the comments that or the feedback that your students send you by clicking on it directly. Or if you actually go to the question, you'll see the little comment box down there and you will see what feedback has gone back and forth. And you can batch feedback as well. And remember that the students can also send feedback to us. How did you find the actual questions? This is our new question, drag and drop. It seems pretty intuitive for students to use. Did you all find it pretty intuitive? I hope you did. Drop it in the chat. Tell me what you think. This is, of course, the teacher experience. I can open up the student preview and what you saw. This was just me sending feedback myself. I love drag and drop. I've noticed that when I've been using teacher-paced, yes, teacher-paced mode. Students in their view do not see the next slide when I move on to the next slide unless they refresh. Ooh, no, that shouldn't be happening. It could be just like clearing cache. Chris? I'm going to check that because that should not be, doesn't always happen. It could be a cache issue. Let me check on that. No worries at all. I had a professor account. Can I find the exercise we did right now? Raul, which exercise that we did right now? You mean the formative? Let me know what you mean. If you mean this particular formative, yeah, we can send you a copy of the formative. Do you want a copy? I can send you the clone code here. Should I do that? I can totally do that. Yeah, I'm going to click on share and get the sharing link. And I'll plop it in the chat. Any questions at all? I do want to give you this. This is a Google form. If you would please fill that out to get your certificate of attendance. Thank you everyone for joining us. I hope this was helpful.